Welcome back to our Entitled People series, where you'll hear stories about people who truly believe they can do whatever they want just by being themselves. Guys, in this episode, you'll hear 6 super entitled stories. The first story is about an entitled woman who gets her first job ever. The second story features a Karen who gets mad because her neighbor cuts down his tree. And the third story is about a mini Karen who tries to push around a cashier. My friends, I do hope you enjoy the stories today. Hit that subscribe button for future stories. Let's dive in. So I worked at a grocery store at a full-service meat counter. This means if you wanted any type of meat, like steaks, chicken, fish, etc., you had to get it from me behind the counter. This place was also in a fairly wealthy neighborhood, so we had plenty of rich and entitled customers. Now, this is a long story that I've been wanting to share for a while. This is the story of the entitled woman who worked only one day. This took place right after a massive storm took out power all across town, and our store just happened to be one of the first places to get it back. This woman was a regular customer, but she was not one of our typical clientele. She was most likely living on welfare and was very disheveled in appearance, though not homeless. She loved to come into our store. Every time she came in, she would tell the cashiers how she was constantly applying for a job here, and once they gave her a job, everything would be perfect, and her life would turn around. So, after a few months of this bragging, we decided to help her and actually give her a job. She seemed like a lovely lady, and we were short-staffed due to the storm. I wasn't there when she was told she got the job, but I heard she started sobbing and gave the store manager a hug, thanking him over and over until she left. On her first day, there was another small storm. This would be perfect for her, as the rain usually keeps out customers, limiting traffic so she could learn the basics more easily. However, when the time came for her to clock in at 10 o'clock, she was nowhere to be seen. We wondered where she was, hoping she was able to make it here okay. 10 minutes later, nothing. 15 minutes later, still nothing. 20 minutes later, we were really starting to get worried that something may have happened to her. She finally showed up at 10:30 looking for the assistant manager, Kelly. Kelly usually trains the cashiers, as she's also the manager of the front end. As Kelly was teaching the woman how to use our clocking system, she mentioned to the woman that in fact she was 30 minutes late to her shift. The woman casually said that she wasn't late and that she was perfectly on time. Red flag number 1. Kelly then pointed to the screen on the hand scanner and said, "Look, the clock here says 10:35, you showed up here 5 minutes ago." The woman then said, "Well, your clocks must be wrong then, or you should really get that fixed." That was red flag number 2. So we worked on getting her to a register to train her on the point of sale system, as she was only supposed to be there until 2. But at 11:30, she noticed that the younger kids who were there before her were going on lunch break. She decided that this was a good time to take her lunch break. Kelly noticed her taking off and asked where she was going. The woman said, "I'm going on lunch." Kelly responded, "Well, actually, because you're only meant for a 4-hour shift, the company policy dictates that you don't get a break. You get 15 minutes with no punch-out for 5 hours, 15 with punch-out for 6 hours, and half an hour with punch-out for 7 hours and up." The woman then said, "Really? There's no way that I can just go out really quick?" She tried to give Kelly crocodile tears and puppy dog eyes, which was red flag number 3. Kelly said, "I'm sorry, maybe later though, you've only been here for an hour." Fast forward 15 minutes to 11:45. Where she once again piped up to Kelly and said, "Hey Kelly, do you think you can hold the front end down here? I need to use the restroom." Kelly agreed, and the woman left to go to the bathroom, which is located in the employee's break room. A few minutes later, the kids in the break room reported a terrible smell. After 15 minutes, the woman emerged from the women's room with a distinct smell of cigarette smoke. Red flag count, infinity. Our store is a strictly no-smoking area. If you want to smoke, you have to do it outside. Kelly went into the ladies' room to investigate the smell, and the woman had lit a cigarette, enjoyed her smoke, and put it out on the toilet seat. She melted the plastic and didn't even flush the cigarette away. So, reasonably upset, Kelly brought the woman to the back room and asked her what that was all about. The woman explained that she thought Kelly was being unreasonable, and since she couldn't take her smoke break with lunch, she decided that it would be best to take it in the bathroom. When asked why she had to melt the toilet seat, her response was, "Where else am I supposed to put it? You guys don't do the whole indoor smoking thing." Knowing that she was aware of the smoking policy when she violated it was enough to force Kelly's hand into firing her. She consulted with the store manager, and he agreed. When they gave her the news, her reaction was what we had more or less expected out of her. Kelly said, "I'm sorry, but you're fired. This is ridiculous. You've only been here for an hour and a half." The woman interrupted and said, "What? No, I've been here for 2 hours. I got here at 10 o'clock. Kelly said, you showed up here at 10:30, you vandalized store property, and because you're being so unfair to me, I should have a break. I've been here long enough to get one now." At this point, Kelly was clearly fed up with the woman's interruptions and said, "Get out." The woman said, "Well, where's my paycheck?" Kelly responded, "You'll be able to get your paycheck next week on Tuesday. Your time here has not been processed yet." The woman screamed and said, "No, I demand my money now. I worked hard for it. You guys owe me exactly $16.71. Kelly told her that she'd be able to pick up the check later, and she said, "No, where is the store manager? I want my $16.71. So, the store manager, hearing the commotion, left his office. The small store made it very easy to know what was going on. The store manager said, "You will not be getting any money until Tuesday next week." The woman said, "That's against the law. You have to pay me. Where's my form?" The store manager asked, "Form? What form?" She replied, "So I can get my unemployment." Basically, the store manager told her to get out, that she wasn't getting any forms, and that she was being charged for the property she damaged, so there wasn't even any paycheck. She left to her car, peeled out all over the parking lot, and drove in front of the store, flipping everyone off who was looking before she left. Looking at the clock, she didn't even last past 12:30. We never saw her again. Guys, it sounds to me like this woman was trying purposely to get fired so she could go on unemployment, which doesn't even work that way. This person right here says she may have just been submitting applications to prove that she was looking for work and never expected them to hire her, so she blew it to continue doing what she was doing. So, what do you guys think? Do you think she was really looking for a job and realized it was tough when she wasn't allowed to do what she wanted to, or was she trying to scam the system? Next story. So, I've been living away from home ever since graduating from college. My parents both recently retired, and last summer, they decided to use some of the money they'd saved up to finally build their dream retirement home in New Orleans. Now, I come from a very tight-knit family, so I still talk to my parents every week. They were so excited when they said they'd already picked out the location where they wanted the house built. It was an empty lot in a nice neighborhood where a house had been demolished not too long ago due to age. Anyway, my parents snapped it up as soon as it came on the market. But not too long after construction began, they realized that they were building their dream house right next door to a wild Karen. The trouble started when my parents had to cut down a large oak tree that sat in the front lot. It was a real beauty too, one of those big southern live oaks. Although they didn't want to, they knew they had to remove it because it was in the way. No one likes to cut down a big, beautiful tree, and believe me, if there was a way to avoid it without impeding the construction, my parents would have taken it. So, they called a tree removal service, and the tree was soon gone. A few days after the tree had been cut down, my dad was on the property talking to some of the construction guys and making sure everything was going smoothly. He was going back to his car when he saw a woman in her late 50s walk out of the house next door and head to her mailbox. My dad, let's call him John, is a pretty chilled and laid-back guy who likes to be on good terms with everybody. So he walked over and introduced himself. He said, "Hi," and held out his hand. "My name's John, and my wife and I are going to be your neighbors once our house is finished. I just wanted to come say hi and introduce myself. Nice to meet you. What's your name?" Karen glanced at the extended hand, then looked up at my dad and glared at him. She said, "I'm not going to shake your hand because of COVID. And even if there was no COVID, I still wouldn't shake your hand because you people cut down my tree. It was a beautiful tree, and I enjoyed looking at it. I still can't believe how selfish you are. You should both be ashamed of yourselves." Now, my dad was taken aback by this and pointed out that Karen already had a nice big oak tree in her backyard, but Karen ignored him and stalked back to her house. She never explained why she thought that she was the owner of that tree, not once. Whenever my parents asked about it, she refused to answer. I guess it's just one of those things that we'll never know. My parents met some of the other neighbors that day, including a nice couple who lived in the other house next to Karen's. When my dad told them what happened, the neighbor said that Karen was like that to everybody, and nobody in the neighborhood liked her. They also said that Karen had been nasty to them for a long time, and that they were in the process of selling their house because they couldn't stand living next door. Karen soon began living up to her reputation. For months, whenever my parents would visit the house to see how construction was coming along, she'd find something to complain about or confront them about. One time she said that the construction workers were being too loud and threatened to call the police, even though it was the middle of the day. Another time she said the construction company was using illegal immigrants as cheap labor and threatened to call ICE and have the whole project shut down. My dad mentioned this to the owner of the company, and the owner sent Karen a formal letter threatening a lawsuit if she tried. I don't know if there was any actual grounds for a lawsuit, but the threat must have worked because ICE never showed up. Oh, and then there was a time she tried to have my parents' car towed for illegally parking when they parked on the curb of their unfinished house. I could go on. Karen did everything she could think of to try and interfere. She was absolutely relentless in her crusade to avenge the tree that she never even owned. Happily, the house was completed despite her best efforts, and my parents finally moved in not long after the holidays. My mom told me that she caught Karen watching them bitterly from her window as they were taking some of the boxes inside. She was concerned that Karen might keep going and try something else, but I guess Karen was too busy wallowing in self-pity over her failure because things were actually quiet for a while. But a few weeks ago, things changed. New Orleans had some really bad weather lately due to winter storms, and one night, one of the storms was so powerful that it knocked over the tree in Karen's backyard. It missed falling onto her house, but it didn't miss falling onto her shiny new Jaguar and crushing it like a soda can. According to my folks, Karen did not discover what happened until the following morning when she came outside and saw the pile of scrap metal that used to be her car. She threw back her head and let out a primal scream like something out of a horror movie. She had to pay to have the tree removed, and then she had to pay for a tow truck to get rid of the car. Karen put her property up for sale and moved out not too long afterward. Everyone in the neighborhood was glad to see her go, and my parents watched her drive off into the sunset from the porch of their amazing new house. Well, this Karen definitely sounds like a great neighbor to have, guys. Maybe Karen was just a tree lover and was just upset that another big, beautiful oak tree was lost to make way for a house. I love this person's comment right here, RIP. That tree took one for the team to better the neighborhood, and it truly did, my friends, because nobody wants to live next to a Karen. Next story. So, I work at a trendy store in one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. Most people I serve could probably buy my whole store with their pocket change. So, naturally, I see quite a few rude, entitled, generally bratty customers. Worse than those bratty customers are their even brattier children. Believe it or not, as a result, it isn't uncommon for me at all to deal with some incredibly impolite behavior from kids whose parents do absolutely nothing or even encourage it. So today, I was on the cash register during a slow time. A little girl rushed up to me, and she was no more than 7 years old. She was waving a balloon animal on a stick in my face, throwing some product down, and then screaming, "Make it snappy! I have places to be! Chop chop!" Being in retail, you develop a thick skin for these kinds of people, so I just smiled at the kid and began to wring her out. Then her mother appeared, as if by magic, behind her. She crouched down beside her kid and calmly explained that such behavior was unacceptable and that she should be polite to workers. She added that if she did not behave better, her mother would take her home without buying her anything at all. She then made her daughter apologize to me and also apologize profusely herself for her daughter's behavior. I've gotten so used to kids being disrespectful with no intervention from their parents that this woman made my day. I really appreciated the empathy she clearly demonstrated and the simple action she took to appropriately correct her child. Everyday heroes do exist. Now that, my friends, is a wonderful parent. 10 out of 10, Mom. Good job on preventing any more future Karens. Next story. So, due to reasons, my mother-in-law had to move in with my husband and me for a while. I'm South Asian and my husband is white. Indian food is what I was raised eating, and I love it to this day. Due to the stay-at-home orders, I suddenly have a lot more time to cook than I did before. I stocked my kitchen with rice, different spices, and whatever else I would need to make what I wanted. My husband doesn't mind and he enjoys the food. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, does not. She's never liked me. Some things, she says, include, what kind of people use their hands to eat? Just use a knife and spoon like normal people. My husband has stuck up for me on those occasions before, but having to live with her 24/7 is wearing him down. So, after she moved in, she immediately starts complaining. Why does that smell so strong? It'll cling to the walls. Stop that. Or goodness, are you really feeding my son that junk? Just eat normal American food. I know quarantine's taking its toll on everybody, so I decided to stay quiet. My husband did try to talk to her once, but that fell on deaf ears, like always. So, I woke up yesterday morning, went downstairs to chat with my husband and mother-in-law, and headed to the kitchen. I opened up my pantry, and there was nothing. My rice, my spices, my flour, everything had been cleaned out. I had a rice dispensing machine that I got a few years back, and that was missing too. Then I went to the fridge, and besides milk, bread, butter, jam, and eggs, there was nothing. She threw away almost 2 weeks' worth of food. I got my husband and asked him what happened to the food, and he looked confused until my mother-in-law piped up and said that she threw everything out. When I asked why, she simply said, "My child isn't used to eating your types of food. Just make him what Americans eat. I also don't like the food, and you should cater to me as a guest." Heck, did that make me mad? She has this insane thing about not acknowledging that I'm American, or when she does, she tells people that I got my citizenship through marriage. This is wrong on all accounts. I was born here, and so were the last 4 generations of my family. So, this was back when all the virus stuff was happening, so I went grocery shopping, and they were out of stock on basically everything. I came home, and she still had the audacity to ask why I'm not cooking like I usually do after all that. My husband and I called his sister to ask if she wanted to take in my mother-in-law. We told her what happened. After all the shock and horror, my sister-in-law said, "Ask her to pay you back. She's received her stimulus money, she should have enough now." This was news to us. My sister-in-law confirmed that my mother-in-law told her she'd already got it. I lost it. She moves into my house, leeches off us, knowing full well that my husband and I have taken financial hits due to the pandemic, and she gets her stimulus money and does nothing? I wanted her out of my house. My husband finally got that I was serious and did something about it. So, long story short, he told her that she needed to pay us for the groceries and leave. She fought it for a few hours, saying, "My son won't throw me out. This can't be his idea, this has to be your idea." My husband had enough of the whining and told her that she pays up and gets out, or our entire extended family will know exactly why she's being booted from the house. That scared her into compliance. But the antics didn't end there, though. While she was packing her things, she would forget and walk around the house wearing her shoes or put her shoe-clad feet on my couch. Not wearing your outside shoes inside the house is a cultural thing. Yesterday, I made paneer. The look on her face when she realized that I could make Indian food with nothing but milk and lemon juice was absolutely priceless. She left a while ago, we got our money back, and I'm ordering stuff from Amazon. I told my family what happened, and they'll be sending me a care package of rice, flour, and my favorite spices to tide me over until I can get my hands on my own. Guys, I feel so bad for OP having to put up with a horrendous mother-in-law like that. I'm glad she was kicked out of the house. Not liking different cultural food is one thing, but to throw away somebody's groceries and then refuse to pay them back is absolutely on another level of entitlement. I'm sorry, but she needs to learn that there's a lot more food out there than steak and potatoes, hot dogs, and hamburgers. OP definitely did a great job of keeping cool, though. How many of you would have kicked her out on the spot? Next story? So, I used to work in a small chain of bookstores and stationery shops. We'd sell books, pens, paper, and so on. It was a quirky little store, straight out of a romantic love novella, or a Stephen King book if you prefer. This happened a few years ago. A Karen walked into the store with her daughter. It was rather early in the morning. She looked around and asked me if I could watch her kid. I told her, "Oh no, I'm terrible with kids, I'm sorry." She told me that it's not for that long and I shouldn't make such a fuss about it. I still politely refused because it's not my job to watch a kid since we're a bookstore. But what happened? Karen left the store, and who did I find hidden in the corner? Her daughter, who seemed rather shy and fearful. Now, this happened back in a time before everybody had smartphones. The kid obviously did not have a mobile phone, and I suspected the mother also wouldn't. I wasn't too surprised that the little kid did not know the number of their landline. I sighed. What are you going to do? So I went up to the girl and asked, "Hey, what's your name?" The little girl told me her name, and I said, "I'm first and last name." The little girl told me her first and last name too. Now, this rang a bell. I had a good customer with the same surname, so it turned out it was her dad. I did not get paid enough to babysit. Heck, I didn't even get paid enough to do my normal work. I called her dad at his workplace since we saved the number in our system. The call went along these lines. I said, "Hey Dad, it's me, OP, from Bookstore XY. He said, "Oh, hi OP. How's it going? I don't remember having any open orders." I told him, "Yeah, so listen, do you have a daughter?" The dad was confused and asked, "Yeah, why do you ask?" I asked what her name was. I just wanted to ensure it's really her dad and not just a silly coincidence. Dad apologized for his wife's behavior and told me he's going to pick up his daughter as soon as possible. Thankfully, the dad arrived in about half an hour, and the girl ran to him and hugged him, crying that mommy was mean to her. Dad soothed her and thanked me for babysitting her. He gave me a bottle of wine and bought something small from the store. He then said to me, "If she shows up again, could you not tell her that I picked up our daughter?" I asked him why, and he responded, "If you don't feel like it, you don't need to. It's rather complicated, and you did so much for us." So the dad left, and in the evening, Karen showed up. Just to point out, she dropped off the daughter at about 9 in the morning. It was now about 5:45 in the evening. Karen said, "Where is my daughter?" So me, already having chugged about half the bottle of wine and thus a little tipsy, said, "Your what?" "My daughter. I dropped her off in the store, and you were here, remember? You took her." So me, being way too tipsy for work, said, "Your what?" Karen was on edge, and thus I did what I thought was the smartest thing to do. I told her a guy came into the store and picked her up. He seemed nice. He gave me some wine for her. Now, at this point, I expected her to explode and attack me, but she just left the store. A few weeks passed, and the dad and the girl came back to the store. They were both incredibly happy to see me. The dad asked me if I had a few minutes and an excuse not to work. Obviously, I took the time for customer service. So, long story short, they were in the middle of a divorce when Karen dropped off the daughter at our store. One of the reasons the dad wanted to divorce Karen was that Karen was not nice to the daughter. In my country, as a male, it's rather hard to get custody of your child, no matter what. The daughter wanted to be with her dad, but that did not matter. So, in the end, Karen dropping off the daughter at our store was a gift from the heavens. The dad took his daughter to his sister's overnight, and Karen pretended that the daughter was sleeping at one of her friends. Dad wanted to call them to ensure that the daughter was fine, and Karen did not want that. Dad pretended to call the daughter's friend, and she did not know where the daughter was. Karen claimed that she dropped her off at her friend's. Now, the dad faked panic and involved the police. Karen then insisted that her daughter's friend kidnapped her. The police asked the dad and Karen separately, and the dad told the police what happened. Meanwhile, Karen still insisted on dropping her daughter at her friend's house. Dad had proof of it being otherwise, since he already called the police when he dropped off his daughter at his sister's house in court. The dad apparently said something like, "Karen can have all she wants, even my wine collection. I just want to be with my daughter." Karen, knowing that the dad did not have any money left and had some quite expensive wines, agreed. The daughter ended up being with the dad, and the mother paid alimony. What Karen did not know is that the dad was replacing his wine collection before the divorce with the cheapest wines he could find at different discounters, giving away all the expensive ones. He knew that Karen would either take everything from him or break his wine collection. We both laughed, and I gifted a book to the daughter, who seemed very happy. When Karen dropped her off, she was shy and small, and now she had such a big smile on her face and was curious about everything. She could read much better than a few weeks ago, and she seemed like a bird taking off to fly toward the sun. That mother definitely deserves the Mom of the Year award, guys. Best mother ever. Leaving your kid at a bookstore for 8 hours? Check. Choosing an expensive wine collection over custody of your daughter? Check. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that the daughter ended up with such a loving father. Now listen, guys. I don't want to say that she's a bad mother, but seriously, she's a freaking terrible mother who leaves their daughter or son at a bookstore for 8 freaking hours. You've got to be kidding me. Next story. So, as part of my actual job, my company sends me to different clinics to audit their invoices to ensure insurance companies aren't getting scammed for unnecessary or unperformed patient procedures. It happens more than you know. Normally, when I'm at the clinic, they'll stick me in an unused office or a cubicle so I'm out of sight and don't interfere with their normal operations. However, yesterday, during a clinic visit, they did not have anywhere to put me except the front desk with the receptionist. So, I'm sitting there at the front office desk, looking over the clinic's documents, when the receptionist gets called back to assist with a patient. After a few minutes, I hear somebody cough slightly to the right of me, and I look up. I'll call her Karen because she had the haircut and the attitude. Karen, in a rude voice, said, "I've been standing here for the past couple of minutes, and you've yet to acknowledge me. Is this how this clinic is run?" I told her, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the receptionist just stepped out for a moment. She'll be back soon. I cannot help you as I don't work here." She looked me up and down like she's judging how I'm dressed. I should mention that I'm dressed in standard business attire, a blazer, a shirt, a tie, and black slacks with my company logo and my name tag. Karen said, "How stupid do you think I am? You're sitting in front of a desk in a clinic, dressed like that, and you don't work here?" I should file a complaint against you with your boss. I told her, listen ma'am, I've already told you I don't work here. Take it or leave it, but I work for this company, and I held up my badge. So Karen, now infuriated, said, how dare you? Do you know who I am? My husband works with the owner of this clinic, and he'll be hearing about your poor customer service skills. I, still looking down at documents, said, good for him. I repeat, I don't work here. Wait for the receptionist. Karen tried to change tactics, faked a smile at me and said, look, I'm sure you're busy, so I won't take up much of your time. All I need to know is my daughter-in-law's next OB appointment. Her name is Name. It shouldn't take you too long to find her in your calendar. I just need to know what time it is so I can be here to meet her. Now I'm looking at her and said, are you deaf? I've already told you that I don't work here. Even if I did, you're asking me to violate HIPAA laws. Do you know how serious that is? You need to ask her directly if she's willing to have you with her, but I doubt it. Karen then said, you don't know what you're talking about. That girl should have told me when she was scheduling her first ultrasound. That's my grandchild in there, and I need to be with her to see him. Now tell me when her appointment is, otherwise I'll have you fired. I told her that she needs help and she needs to leave now before I call security. She said, you're threatening me? The doctor and receptionist heard a loud commotion and came out to the front desk. The doctor asked, what's going on here? I told him that this woman does not understand that I don't work for you, and she's trying to find out her in-law's appointment. Karen's now panicking and said, your receptionist has been useless and won't give me the information I asked for. He needs to be fired. The receptionist looked at Karen and said, he doesn't work here, and she intercommed the security office and said, hi, we need a guard to come to the office 123 to escort someone out. She's disturbing one of our vendors. Once Karen realized that she's about to be escorted out, she said, I'm not leaving. I have a right to know how my grandson is doing. I have a right. So she started shouting profanities at us for a couple of minutes. When a burly security guard arrived, he told her to leave, otherwise he'll call the police for trespassing. She refused, so he grabbed her by the arm and dragged her, screaming, out of the office. That was the last I saw her, but the receptionist called the daughter-in-law to inform her what just happened. After the call, the receptionist laughed and told me that the daughter-in-law did not want the woman anywhere near her and her baby to be. It seems she and her husband are no contact, which explained part of the craziness. Now, that's kind of crazy, cutting your mom out and then having her stalk your appointment to see the kid. This is how kidnappings happen in the future, my friends, and this is my view on these story. Grocery store fiasco. I couldn't believe the audacity of that woman at the meat counter. She begged for a job, got it, then showed up late, lied about it, and smoked in the bathroom, melting a toilet seat. I think she was scamming to keep her welfare or unemployment benefits, not expecting to actually get hired. Her entitlement, demanding a paycheck for an hour of work and vandalizing property, was next level. I'd have fired her faster than Kelly did. People like her give second chances a bad name. New Orleans neighbor Karen, that Karen obsessing over a tree she didn't own, was ridiculous. I get loving nature, but her vendetta against your parents threatening police, ice and towing was unhinged. Her meltdown when a storm crushed her Jaguar felt like poetic justice. I bet she moved because she couldn't face the neighborhood's relief. I'd have waved from the porch too, sipping sweet tea. Trendy store mom, that mom correcting her bratty kid at the register warmed my heart. I'm so used to parents ignoring their kids' rudeness, but she stepped up, made her apologize, and showed empathy. It's rare and refreshing. I'd give her a high five for raising a kid who might not become a Karen. Mother-in-law madness. I was livid reading about your mother-in-law tossing your groceries, throwing out your cultural food and demanding American meals. That's not just entitled, it's disrespectful. I'd have lost it when she claimed your kitchen as hers. Kudos for keeping cool and getting her out. That paneer flex was chef's kiss. Bookstore babysitter, that Karen leaving her kid for 8 hours, I'm floored. She's not just entitled, she's neglectful. I'd have been as tipsy as you, OP, dealing with that. Thank goodness the dad got custody. That kid deserves better. I'd have gifted her a whole library for her smile. Clinic Karen demanding her daughter-in-law's appointment details was a HIPAA violation waiting to happen. I'd have called security sooner. Her entitlement to her grandkids' info, despite being no contact, was creepy. I'm glad the daughter-in-law is safe from her. That guard dragging her out? Iconic. And now, my friends, this brings us to another end of our Entitled People series. Guys, we survived! If you enjoyed the episode today, do hit that thumbs up button, and if you missed the last episode of our Entitled People series, check it out if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you, I really do.